Hi, I'm Louise. I was born in Spain. My family used to own a ranch. For many years, it was thriving. My dad built a huge stable and bred horses there. They even won prizes at races. But one day, his business went bust. Dad had to sell almost all his horses to pay off his debts. Daddy, can we keep Caramel, please? And Cherry, too. Dad looked at me and my sister and let us keep our favorite horses. Grace was 2 years older than me. After Dad went broke, Mom left us and moved to Barcelona. Don't cry. We'll take part in races and win a ton of money. Our ranch will prosper again. Grace was always there for me, and I couldn't imagine my life without her. One night, she told me goodnight and went to her room as usual. Then, I heard some strange noises outside. I looked out the window and saw a scary shadow by our stable. It was a ghost! I ran back to bed and pulled the covers over my head. When I told Grace about the ghost in the morning, she didn't believe me. It must have just been a shadow. Every day, we got on our horses and rode out into the field to race each other and imagine we're taking part in a real competition. One day, Grace brought up racing at dinner.
I forbid you from signing up for races. Horses have brought nothing but trouble.
I wanted to protest, but Grace kicked me under the table. After we left the living room, she showed me an envelope full of money. Wow, where'd you get it? I knew Dad would be against it, so I've been saving up. My sister was the coolest. We took the equipment from our stable. Luckily, there were jockey uniforms there. Grace told Dad that we were going to the city to visit her friend. The racetrack was not far from the ranch, so we rode there. My breath caught in my throat when we arrived. It was amazing. There were so many people who loved equestrian sports just like us. Before the race began, Grace went somewhere for a while. I was looking around when I heard an incredible voice. A young singer had been invited to perform at the race. He looked and sounded amazing. I was staring at him and all but drooling when our eyes suddenly met. But then the music ended and the magic of the moment vanished. Soon, I heard someone behind me chuckle. I turned around and saw some teenagers. A girl in a stylish uniform seemed to be their leader. Her name, Livia, was embroidered on her jacket. Hey, where did you buy such cheap equipment? Did your great-grandmother ride in that saddle too? Her friends laughed nastily, and it made my blood boil. You'll eat your words when I beat you. Have you seen my thoroughbred? We will leave you in the dust. I was about to snap back at her when the singer I'd been admiring came up to us.
Your uniform is from a vintage collection, right? I've heard those are very expensive.
When Livia and her friends heard that, their eyes bugged out. But then the start signal sounded and all the participants got ready. Good luck, sis. When Caramel took off, the rest of the world ceased to exist. It was like wings had grown behind my back. I beat my opponents one by one. Grace was the only one in front of me, but she had always been the better rider. But then, another participant suddenly rode past me. It was Livia. Furious, I sped up, but I wasn't fast enough. Livia finished second, and I came in third. I told you I'd leave you in the dust. I was barely listening to her because I realized Grace had won. I was over the moon. When we were about to leave, I saw the singer again and decided to thank him. But when I got closer, security guards blocked my way.
It's okay. Let her through.
I wanted to thank you for standing up for me. It was very sweet of you.
You've been staring at me so much, I just couldn't stand by.
I wasn't staring.
Don't worry, I'm used to it. All the girls are crazy about me.
Listen, this is the first time I'm seeing you, and I don't even know your name, but you have an amazing voice. Adam was shocked by my words. He was probably used to being recognized by everyone. I quickly said goodbye to him and got on my horse and rode away with Grace. We didn't tell Dad about the race, but that evening, the competition was shown on the news. It was a disaster.
How could you? You lied to me!
This is our dream! Grace took first place! You should congratulate her, not shout!
Grace is 18. She can do whatever she wants. But you must do as I say.
It was infuriating. I stormed off to my room. Grace soon followed and comforted me like she always did. Don't mind him. We can do this. Since we meddled, we were invited to another major competition. We packed up, sneaked out of the house, and checked into a hotel by the racetrack. Livia and her gang were staying there too. When she saw me, she grimaced like she'd eaten a rotten tomato. The next morning, we came to practice. Grace had booked us a track, but Livia threw a fit. I booked it yesterday! I only booked it this morning and it was free then. I could buy the whole racetrack and kick you two out of here. Better buy yourself a brain. You clearly need one. I know it was rude, but Livia really got on my nerves. Louise, let's go. She's not worth it. Despite Livia's best efforts, our practice went well. When I got off the horse, I saw Adam again.
You look cool in the saddle.
I still haven't fallen for you.
That's great, because I'm not very good at catching. Bad reflexes, you know?
We walked along the racetrack and chatted. I liked hanging out with Adam. As I was walking back to the hotel, I accidentally overheard Livia talking to her friend. I saw them on a walk together. I don't get it. What does Adam see in her? Her uniform is not vintage. Her family lives on a squalid ranch. They're poor as heck. Ugh, that snake! No, snakes were cute. Comparing her to them would be insulting. Livia was just Livia. I had to beat her, no matter what. Unfortunately, her skills were nothing to sneeze at. Her horse seemed to fly across the track. Livia looked like a graceful Amazon. I knew beating her wouldn't be easy and trained harder than ever. Adam often came by to watch me practice. It was great motivation. One day, Adam invited me to a cafe after practice. As we ate paella, he asked me about my life on the ranch. I liked how interested he was, even though his questions seemed a bit weird to me. After lunch, he walked me to the hotel. When we arrived, he stopped and looked me in the eyes.
See you tomorrow, Louise.
Adam leaned in and kissed me on the cheek. Butterflies immediately fluttered in my stomach, and I turned red as a lobster. I quickly walked inside and pressed palms to my burning cheeks. Oh. The last practice before the next race took place a couple of days after that. At some point, a groom led a new horse to the racetrack. It looked incredible.
Blizzard is a bit unruly, but he's as fast as the wind.
What if I rode him and not Caramel? That was my chance to beat Livia. Don't even think about it. It's too risky. I think that was the first time in my life I didn't listen to Grace. I came up to the groom and convinced him to let me try to ride Blizzard. At first, things were going great, but soon Blizzard whinnied and reared up. It all happened so fast. Later, whenever I thought back to that moment, I wished I could turn back time. Louise, watch out! Blizzard jerked and hit her. Grace fell to the ground. The groom grabbed the reins and helped me dismount, but it was too late. Grace injured her spine when she fell. She had a complex surgery, but it didn't help.
I'm sorry, but Grace won't be able to walk anymore.
I refused to believe it. I was sure Grace was about to run out into the hallway and say it was all a big joke. But when I saw her, I barely recognized her. Grace. She turned away and wouldn't talk to me.
It's all your fault. I told you horses are nothing but trouble.
Tears streamed down my face. Grace, I'm sorry. I didn't think this would happen. But Grace wouldn't even look in my direction. At that moment, I decided I would never get on a horse again. Grace and I dreamed of racing together. I couldn't do it without her. When we got back home, we realized someone had broken in. Our things were scattered around, and some of the drawers were open. Dad called the police, but nothing was missing.
Let us know if someone breaks in again.
I tried to take care of Grace as best as I could. I cooked her delicious breakfasts and brought her lovely gifts, but she looked at me like I was a slug. Just leave me alone! That hurt the most. But Grace couldn't hate me more than I hated myself. I wanted to be punished for what I did. Adam called me several times a day, but I didn't want to speak to him. Sorry, we can't see each other anymore. I had no right to be happy after what happened to Grace, but getting rid of Adam wasn't that easy. He sent bouquets of flowers to our house and ordered delivery from the best restaurants for me. One day, he brought a guitar and serenaded me under my window.
What is this? I'll break your guitar if you wake me up with this nonsense again.
After that, I realized I would have to talk to Adam after all. I found out that he was giving a concert in the city and came there. But when I got to the stage, Adam was standing next to some girl. He hugged her and kissed her on the cheek, just like he'd kissed me a few days ago. It made me want to slap the living daylights out of him. I turned around and ran away.
Louise, wait!
Of course, I didn't even turn around. Adam called me that evening, but I didn't pick up the phone. Instead of worrying about him, I decided to focus on my sister. I prepared surprises and turned on our favorite movies for her, but Grace stayed as cold as an Arctic night. One day, I was scrolling through my phone when I saw the latest news. Livia had won yet another race. Ugh, that was so unfair. It should have been Grace. I immediately started Googling the best clinics that I hoped would help Grace. See? They say this doctor works miracles. I convinced Dad to sign Grace up for a consultation. When I came to my room that evening, I noticed my things were not lying where I'd left them. Did I leave them here? I thought I was just confused because I had been stressed lately, but the next day, something weird happened. I made Grace's favorite waffles for breakfast. When she refused to eat them, I brought the plate to my room and left to take a shower. When I came back, one of the waffles was missing. Had someone broken into our house again? This makes no sense. Who would break in just to steal a waffle? That night, I heard footsteps in the hallway, but when I looked out the door, there was no one there. I was sure I hadn't imagined it though. My stomach was in knots. In the morning, Dad drove Grace to a clinic for the consultation. I wanted to come along, but just stay at home. After they left, I tried to find the intruder. When I came back into my room, I noticed that the closet door was ajar. I slowly came closer and quickly opened it. There was nothing but clothes inside. I guess I'm being paranoid. But then I looked down and saw men's sneakers. I quickly parted the clothes and saw Adam. I was about to lose it, but he pressed a finger to my lips. Don't scream. What are you doing in my room?
I've been living here for the last couple of days. You didn't answer my calls, and I didn't have any better ideas. That girl you saw me with was my cousin.
Your cousin? I was so shocked I didn't understand what Adam was talking about at first. But then I recovered a bit and saw right through his lies. You wouldn't have sat here for 2 days if you just wanted to talk. Besides, you've broken into our house before, haven't you? I took a step towards Adam. He backed away and raised his hands placatingly.
Okay, you got me. I'm actually here because of my father. He is a thief. The police arrested him 8 years ago. Recently, someone started blackmailing me. They say they will tell the journalists about my father if I don't pay them. But I've already invested everything I earned in promotion. I have almost no money left.
How did that lead you to hiding in my house? Adam handed me a crumpled piece of paper with a crudely drawn map on it.
See, this is your ranch. I recently found this map among my father's things. I think he hid his loot here because he was being chased by the cops and didn't have time to find a better place. But then he got arrested and did not get the chance to come back for the money.
I found that hard to believe. That's only a theory. You do realize that's unlikely, right?
I do, but I still wanted to make sure.
That's when it dawned on me. Was that why you hung out with me? To find out more about the ranch? Adam looked away. It was clear I hit the bullseye.
Only at first, but I liked you when I got to know you.
I didn't believe him, but agreed to help anyway. We searched every corner of the ranch, but didn't find anything. See, there's no money here except for a couple of bucks in my pocket. Not quite the loot you were hoping to find, huh? I think you should go.
Louise,
Someone slammed the front door shut. Adam quickly hid in the next room, a second before Dad and Grace walked into the living room.
They agreed to perform another surgery. The chances of complete recovery, if it's successful, are high. But even if we sell the ranch, we won't have enough money for it.
I knelt down in front of Grace and took her hands into mine. I promise, I'll figure something out. You're going to walk again. Grace suddenly burst into tears. For the first time in a while, there was no hatred in her eyes when she looked at me. I'm sorry, sis. I've been awful to you. It wasn't your fault. I shouldn't have blamed you. It was just an accident. Oh, Grace. I burst into tears too, and we hugged. And then Dad joined us.
Girls, I'm such an idiot. I'm sorry I've been so distant since Mom left.
Dad, let Louise take part in the race. What? No, I don't want to do it without you. Grace suddenly tightened her grip on my hand and looked into my eyes. Please, do it for both of us. I got goosebumps. How could I say no to that? When I walked into the next room, Adam was no longer there. He must have climbed out the window. I went to the stable, gave Caramel an apple, and looked at the setting sun. And then something in my head clicked. I suddenly remembered a moment from my childhood. That ghost. What if I saw Adam's father? What if he hid his loot outside the house? I remembered where the ghost had stopped that night, stood on tiptoes, and touched the logs until one of them moved, and I found a hiding place. There was a bag full of money in it. I can't believe my eyes! I immediately called Adam and told him about my find. We met the next morning, and I gave him the bag. Adam gave me a weird look, got into the car without a word, and drove away. Of course, I considered using the money to pay for Grace's surgery, but I couldn't do that. A couple of days later, Dad got a call from the clinic.
I don't understand. The doctor said Grace's surgery has been paid for. We can go to the clinic right now.
My heart started pounding. Could it be? The next moment, I heard a familiar voice. An interview with Adam was being shown on TV.
My father is a thief. We don't choose our parents, but we can choose who we want to be. And I want to be an honest person and devote myself to music. I also want to tell someone something important.
It felt like Adam was looking directly at me from the screen.
Louise, I love you.
For the umpteenth time lately, I felt tears running down my face. Except now, they were tears of joy. Grace soon underwent surgery, and it was successful. The doctors promised that in 6 months, Grace would be back on her feet and even be able to ride horses again. Meanwhile, I decided to take part in a national competition. Adam cheered me on when I practiced. He expected to get hate comments, but instead, his audience supported him, and the number of his fans skyrocketed. Adam donated the rest of his father's money to charity. I took part in the races with Caramel, my favorite horse. We've got this, girl. I was rapidly overtaking my competitors and soon ended up riding next to Olivia. She tried to push me aside and even used dirty tricks, but I dodged and stayed in the saddle. This is for Grace and for our dream. I couldn't believe it. I did it. Grace and I did it. I laughed and spun around with my arms out. Grace recently started walking again. Adam and I became an item. I spent all my winnings on restoring our ranch. Dad started to take care of horses again and stopped blaming them for all his problems. He finally remembered what it meant to be happy.